Time is 7:01. I'd like to call to order the December 12th, 2024 Nottingham, New Hampshire Budget Committee meeting. All rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Donna, could you start with a roll call?
Donna Danus.
Robert Kelly.
Tim DeBrio.
Owen Friend Gray.
Michael Kelly.
Jill Eldridge.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Sandra Jones.
Charlotte Fife.
Danielle Roy.
And Karen Quinn is excused. Public comment, seeing nobody from the public. Meeting minutes, I don't see in the
We did
packet.
not
so
receive them
we
in
didn't get
time.
them yet. Okay, we'll get those next meeting. And now it's time to put Tim on the spot.
Let's put our town administrator on the spot.
I like putting you on the spot, it's more
That
fun.
sounds like passing the buck.
Yeah. I'm happy to cover whatever. We
I
didn't change
figured,
anything from the last run of the budget. There was-
Okay.
We focused on the warrant articles.
warrants, okay, so I figure, just to set the stage for everybody, as a reminder, we have this meeting, one more meeting, and then the, public meeting and final recommendations. So this is not our last bite at the apple. We have two more meetings after this. Where we'll be discussing and finalizing this. So I'm thinking tonight we focus on the warrant articles, as those are the newest things, and then we can also do an additional, quick run-through of the budget in case anybody has any additional questions, if anything else has been figured out since then. So again, just a reminder, two more bites at the apple, still a rough draft version. But Ellen, if you wouldn't mind going through and maybe just highlighting, I think you said nothing has changed?
Nothing is, in the operating budget, we reduced the rec department budget by $2,000 for 2 workstations that we're trying to fund with the rest out of remaining ARPA funds.
Yep.
And the revaluation, that addition into the capital reserve fund in 2024 didn't pass this year. It's inevitable, it's gonna happen, we're about $20,000 short in that, so we moved that into the operating budget under the assessing. Because obviously we have to fund it, so
Yep.
I think
I
those are
think
the only
other
2
PCs,
changes.
Those were already removed from the budget when the last time we reviewed it, right?
When the budget committee reviewed
Yeah.
it, yes, but, yeah, it was that transitional,
So you removed the rec,
there was 2 computers.
2 computers in the rec, okay.
Were there others, Tim, that you removed?
Yes, we
Prior
removed-
to our last meeting.
Prior to when, the last budget that you
So the
saw.
assumption is that computers are gonna come through grants,
Correct.
and there were like 8.
Well, not,
There was, not through grants, through the remaining ARPA funds. We have to replace the town server that is outdated and a security issue right now. So it was the town server, and then I had 8 workstations that I was gonna try to replace a couple here in this upcoming budget, and then moving forward, but the bottom line is we're running a lot of like 2013 aged computers.
Probably no
so-
support for that anymore.
Yeah, well, and that's where we're getting to. So we have to commit the balance of the ARPA funds that we have remaining by the end of this calendar year. So that was one of the alternative funding sources that,
Okay, any questions on those items? Ellen, I was looking through this earlier today, and there were a couple other computers I noticed that were still in here. The workstation for, is that not gonna be gone for with ARPA?
that is, I thought we would move that one as well. So if you're looking at the 2025 Board of Selectmen 12-24 column, yeah, the last column of blue,
Yeah.
that was removed, the $2,000.
I'm looking at the wrong item. It's very possible. Is it workstations?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize this didn't print out the line items again.
So I'm looking at equipment maintenance support, right? So I had number 30 under TC, and I'm seeing 9391. Does that already have the workstations excluded? Because it's not different than the 1118, which is what was assuming was the differential, but maybe it's not.
The department budget, the department request came in at 102,642, and then it's, for the town clerk total, it's now 100,642, so there's the $2,000 reduced off that.
Should it be 7391?
Yeah, 'cause I'm just not seeing a difference.
Because the number I had for
91.
laptops was 7,033. This is part of, from our meeting, our last Board of Selectmen meeting.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong, so I had the, on the next page, the
I
town
see
clerk
it.
equipment, number 37.
Okay,
It was
so it's in TC
$2,000 for an
equipment.
additional PC and a high-volume printer, so those
Okay.
were removed. The 9391 is their clerk work software support and the Find a Pet, software that they were going to be adding to it. So there's a couple of
That's
new
all
modules they were
software,
opening.
not
Correct.
hardware? Got it. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't looking at the right line.
No, I get it now. That makes more sense. Couple of questions on, salaries for who gets included in the merit pool and who doesn't. PD's out.
Correct.
Who else?
That is it.
Town clerk?
The town clerk has calculated hers into.
I think hers is in her number, right?
It's in her number because technically hers is different. We can't change her salary.
Yeah. And then there was another one, we changed the,
Was it the recycling center?
yeah, the recycling
Yep,
center. was
so
in
that was, the Board of Selectmen added 10,000 to that to potentially open up a fourth position again.
Oh, right, that was a position, not necessarily merit.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah. We didn't backfill the fourth position in '24, so we'd like to at least bring somebody on, maybe not for all 3.5 days that they work, but
yeah.
cover vacation absences.
The building inspector,
Mm-hmm.
is he included in the merit or no? Which I saw his number was.
The merit compensation, we put a plug figure in there for something to work with. We don't actually have it set for like what a percentage would be.
Yep, I'm just curious if he's included.
The part-time positions were not included in the merit compensation, I believe, last year, so I guess it depends on how it all shakes up.
Okay,
But I mean, his department, I
Yeah.
think he's like, he makes $15,000 above and beyond with covers to run the department in fees.
And his salary also includes, we have a seasonal clerk that comes in and helps him with computer data entry. She's there from like May to October, and then she comes back from the month of, between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
so are you saying he gets a percentage of the fees?
Well,
And then there's a part-time
not,
secretary?
no, it's not like we,
It's not like the
just,
town
I'm just saying
clerk.
the operation of that department,
Yeah.
the fees
It's self-funding.
is self-funding.
Oh,
They cover it,
I see
and
what
then
you're
some.
saying.
There's like a surplus of like $10,000 a year.
Yeah, I see building permit revenue is 87,000
Right.
as of 11/8, so I'm sure it's much higher than that 55, and the total is 61. I guess really what I'm trying to drive at is that everybody in here is either already having some sort of raise or is eligible for the merit. There isn't anybody that isn't included. Right, that was the intent?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Everybody is eligible for a raise, either through the merit pool or through a line item.
They should all be through a merit unless it's an elected official, elected or an appointed official.
Yeah,
So the salary line should be at present
yeah.
wages.
Do we know what the number was for the police department and their merit poll?
They had the increase,
Theirs actually went down, even with a 3% increase. I remember asking, Fawn about
Fawn.
that, and she said it was because they have lower total cost employees at the moment. They must have some younger staff or newer staff.
correct.
So she said they worked in 3%, but their total number was still lower.
We don't have a number?
For her pool?
Yeah, for a poll.
It was
I remember
3%.
It got broken up, it was together last year, and then it got broken up.
I don't
I
think she
think
did,
it's lumped in with the PD,
I don't think she did
isn't
a
it?
pool. I think she just did
Yeah,
Yeah.
PD salaries.
PD salaries.
Or it does that include 8 officers, or is that based on,
Yes, the officers and
We have staff
the
now.
administrative assistant.
Yeah.
so that's based on 8 plus the assistant?
Yeah, she said she did it at full complement.
Okay.
My apologies, I missed the last meeting. I wasn't able to attend when we looked at the budget, but was the town clerk and assistant town clerk, did their raises get addressed or talked about at all?
So what ended up happening was when we were trying to calculate how the default budget was going to work, we put all the department wages in at the present levels. And assumed that by removing the merit compensation pool, there would be no increases, but because the town clerk salaries were, she already had them figured into her line item, they're not part of that merit compensation pool, they got put in at the increase that she was requesting for '24. And then the '25 budget includes an additional increase.
Okay, so what she was looking
So,
for,
so the line item is not reflective of what their current pay was. there was no increases granted in '24.
24, okay.
Because it has to be voted on by the voters
The salary increase,
for the town clerk.
it can't just be voted on by the voters, whole sort of thing?
By statute. I think there have been increases that have taken place over the years. I don't think Lori has actually received a increase, what did she say, since 2020,
I think it was before that.
before that?
I just don't remember warrant articles where,
It's not, it's in the operating budget, but when the operating budget gets voted on and approved, that approves theirs directly.
so the reason I struggle with it a little bit, and I don't know where you were particularly going with, Michael, but, the salary is just one portion of what the town clerk and the assistant town clerk earn. Because they
Correct.
also get a percentage of
The fees.
fees.
Registrations?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Any transaction, they get a percentage of it.
Oh,
And
dog licenses? and
yeah, and I think
stuff like
basically
that.
it's whoever handles the transaction gets the percentage of it. I just don't recall I don't recall it having to go before the voters to get an increase.
I don't know if I remember voting on that.
In the salary, I don't remember that. But, I mean, doesn't mean it didn't happen, but.
According to the RSA, that's the way it's supposed to happen.
Years ago, maybe 10 years ago.
Because it's an elected position.
Because it's an elected position.
Yeah.
Gotta go back to the town report and look at that.
So I guess in layman's terms, can Lori expect to see an increase in her salary?
If the
2025.
budget passes,
Not the default proposed budget?
correct.
And if the default budget is what the voters approve, then there would be
Then
no
it's gonna be a
increase.
matter of how the selectmen move the line items around to make the bottom line work.
Gotcha. I should strongly urge the selectmen to move those line items around to keep Lori and assistant town clerk.
What about the vests for the police that are expiring? Is there a line in here for that? Is under equipment?
There is not, they were successful in getting a grant, so 2 of the vests for both the chief and I believe one of the lieutenants or one of the sergeants is going to be taken care of in 2024 operating budget, and then the rest will be in.
But the grant only pays for half, right? thought.
I don't have the specifics on the grant. I know the vests are about $900 a piece.
She had reported when she came here that it was going to cost essentially another $5,000 to cover the costs of all the vests and matching funds.
Okay, so that might be.
Has that
part-
changed?
Because I think 3 more vests are gonna expire in 2025.
If I remember right, hers is Hers is
Expired.
up. Hers is up.
Yeah.
It expired.
Right.
She has that one on, and I believe there's another one that's,
Hers and one others are already expired, so those are the ones that we're taking care of in the present budget. And then I believe she's taking care of the remainder next year.
there's two more.
Should be 3. I thought it was 5 total.
Five altogether.
I think she was amenable when we talked to the idea of trying to stagger it so that she had it sort of on a rolling basis, so I think.
Yeah, but she said the grant runs out next year, 2025.
Yeah.
So you had,
Oh, snail and
that,
butter.
you know what I mean?
Can we find a way to check in with her on that?
Of course.
Anything else on the general budget before we switch to warrants?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I have to bring up the newsletter. I had a question about it, that nothing has been put into the operating budget. It was passed as a warrant article back in the 1990s, that it would receive support from the town. We do have some facts and figures. We have found a printer who would print it. We're interested in getting it started again. There is revenue, offsetting revenue from advertising, but I'm not sure about the legalities of if a warrant article passes and says that it's going to get financial support, that amount is up to the powers that be, the select board, I guess.
I think just because a warrant article passes, it doesn't mean it passes in perpetuity. I think that it would be
Oh,
a
it
matter at that point that the selectmen would have to calculate it within the operating budget from that point forward. Not to say that there isn't going to be support in the future.
So we should just try to put anything we can into the warrant article?
Well, I think probably
just
what we
wondered
need to
where-
do is make sure that we have the facts and figures for the Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday and see if they'll support adding it in while we're still in the review process.
How much do you think, so outside of revenue, how much do you think it would cost for the printing? And, because I know it was more expensive than it was last year.
Yeah, for printing and, sorry. For printing and basically all the work, because we used to do all the folding and everything ourselves, the printing for one issue is $1,582, and that goes to 2,131 households. And postage is approximately $490. So that amounts to, $2,072.13 per issue, times 6 is about $12,000.
It's not it's not online at all. It's not existing at all right now.
Right now, it does not exist. There was so much pushback.
How about just doing it up online?
Well, we did discuss that, and the volunteers got a lot of pushback about that and didn't want to do that.
Was there discussion, Charlotte, about doing it maybe quarterly as opposed to 6 times?
I think that would be a possibility, sure. And this is also for 12 pages. I mean, it could be less than that as well. But more
It's
importantly,
never been 12 pages.
oh, yeah.
It has?
The ads and everything else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
At times, it's been 14,
a lot of different
16.
groups submit
Okay,
articles.
okay.
Especially election time, it was 16
Okay.
pages. I know. Sandra, it was. Yeah, I've got all the mailing costs for, since July and August of 2021. And revenue, and the ads were pretty cheap, I think they were $25, amounted to about $600 per issue. And so I'd asked Ellen as well, is there a way to show the offsetting revenue when we're working on a draft? So that will become obvious that the town isn't picking up the entire cost for this.
Charlotte, I think there's been some discussion about the library and the rec department doing a newsletter together that would focus on just kind of like what's coming up and what's going on. So is what you're talking about is going back to the traditional newsletter
Well-
versus just this, what's happening?
I would like to see, I mean, both the library and rec are doing their own newsletters right now. And I found the old community newsletter to just be a reiteration of, pages and pages of what they were doing.
Yeah.
What I talked to Ellen about is to try to put a little bit more newsworthy things in there, not op-ed, but to what's going on in town hall.
Yeah.
When do the
Yeah.
selectmen meet?
Yeah.
When does this happen? When is the deliberative session? What's a little piece of history? Our feeling was that we were starting to get into trouble because it was getting very op-ed-y. There was a lot of editorializing, either about politics or religion. And we felt, overall, people wanted news.
Yeah.
And what was going on in town. And there was a lot of, people were offering to donate. People really seemed to want it in print still, which surprised me, because I was a proponent for just putting it online. But it sounds like, so I just wanted to see, if we just need to keep that line item open with some amount of support from the town in the operating budget, because it had passed as a warrant article in the 1990s. And then I can certainly go ahead and try to do a warrant article again for, I guess it would be about $8,000 to support this. And then we'd use the revenue from advertisements.
So I think you want to put the full amount in,
Yeah.
not the less revenue.
All right.
But you would show,
Well-
the offsetting revenue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, do you have the wording of the warrant article in front of you?
I don't.
Okay.
I couldn't find it, but I have it somewhere.
Okay.
I'm
I have
happy
it
to
as well, I can share it with you.
I don't
No,
think there was a
it's-
cost associated with it in the original warrant
It
article.
might not be, it's very,
Right. It was like it cost
Unwordy.
$15,000 to $20,000 a year to,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just had one question, please. Is this electric correct for the Morrison?
Mark has been very clear that he won't do this anymore.
No, his wife passed away and he's retiring.
Where's which line is that again?
That'd be page 5, 01-4194, 220.
Is
I have some
the
issues
year-to-date
over there.
expenditures. There are some issues over there. The November bill, which went from October 15th to November 15th, had the highest kilowatt usage of the entire year. It was like 888. I have been talking with Carl Eden, who is the electrician that installed the service over there, and also Gary Cohen, who maintains the irrigation. The only thing that we can figure out at this point is there was a space heater that was keeping the shed warm during the winter. We disconnected that this spring, so that was no longer a factor. Everything's,
220?
what's
or
that?
110? Was it 220 or 110?
It's,
well, the heater,
Yeah,
the heater
110.
was 110.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
small.
so that's been removed from the equation as of the spring. The rates were still high, so it was comparable to what runs the general lighting at the recycling center, because the recycling center is single-phase and three-phase. So we couldn't we knew that there was the same base rate as New Hampshire Co-op too, so that's the other thing. They have obviously a different rating structure. The only thing that we have been able to conclude is the pump running the irrigation system is a three-phase pump toned down to a single phase, because we don't have
Very
three-phase
bad.
over there. So Gary's gonna take a look at it in the spring when we reactivate the irrigation system and see if maybe it's triggering more than it should, or what it could be. But outside of that, we might have to have Co-op do an energy audit. But we're hoping that now that the irrigation system is winterized and there's no more draw, we'll just be at the base rate, hopefully for December through
Yeah, 'cause
April.
last winter, we were running compressors and stuff like that over there too,
Yes.
building the dugouts, so there was power being drawn. This winter, there
Yeah,
was
that's
zero.
not much though. I mean, this is, my house is 220 air compressor, generator, stove, you know what I mean, dryer running, and I don't burn nearly as this.
Yeah.
It's like, that three-phase is gonna be a problem when you're running on single phase, not meant to. It's gonna run inefficient, and the life expectancy of that pump's gonna go down.
And it's the same pump that's been there
Yeah.
from the
I know
start.
it-
But I
it
mean, like,
usually
we're starting to
is.
see the increase, so is it a matter, it seems to be the issue, but we're not gonna be able to know until this next billing cycle, once it's completely phased down, or shut down, period, and then when we restart it again in the spring.
Because that's a 2,000-foot well, is that correct? That's a lot. I don't know if it's that deep or not, because that's a lot to pump up 2,000 feet too. That can have some.
Well, it depends on where the static level is, too.
Was there any other
True.
new irrigation that was livened up?
No.
Or same circuits and all that stuff as far as?
There's a leak underground, and the pump's just running all the time, you know what I mean? You know, based on the pressure, you know, kicks off. And you're not gonna get three-phase over there.
It was costly, that's why they chose not
Exactly,
to.
yeah, very costly. Unless it's already over there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a machine shop or something would have it, you know, stuff like that.
I wouldn't imagine you'd have three-phase of the street over there.
No.
think
I
we
get it
do.
why they put a three-phase in
Those new
there. It's
poles have
less-
three-phase.
It's more efficient to run, absolutely. For commercial or whatever. Okay, thank you.
The road and the shim number are still TBD. Are you still just waiting to see what might possibly be left? That's the thought process on that.
There's not a lot, but
I know, there's
Yeah.
5,000 or something like
Yeah.
that, Jack, but.
Yeah,
Is
I
that,
think-
I'm just curious if that's why it's still called that. that's
Yeah.
all. Anything else?
Ellen, before you came in, I had just brought up the issue of the facilities maintenance position. Again, is that included in the operating budget?
As of right now, I do not believe it is.
it's in the default.
No, it is not.
So Tim, what is the board's plan with that if that's not in the budget?
We gotta find it. I think one of the things we had talked about is potentially using a portion of the, building maintenance fund to help fund that position.
So you're not gonna put it forward in the warrant article or, I'm sorry, in the budget or the warrant article, you're just gonna figure out
Cause
where to
we,
get it from?
well, we do have a
first?
warrant article again to continue to fund
Yep.
that,
Okay.
yeah.
That's the building maintenance reserve for 18, that's part of his salary.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm just saying, that's what we're thinking, not just
Oh,
that, but there's
I got you.
like $90,000 in there right now, from what we funded it with last year.
What was approved, 40?
Correct.
40 for his position.
40,000.
Yeah.
So this isn't a line item, it would just be pulled from,
At this point, I mean, we'd love to build it into the budget, but it's becoming a challenge. Because the other piece is with his position, the reason his position would exist would be just, was $220,000 in repairs over the course of the next 3 years, but we don't have those in the those should be in the budget,
yeah. But
in all honesty.
I've observed that there's been a lot of donated time and material. I would just hate to lose that, from Trient Construction.
But we can't expect him to continue to just donate his time and
No,
material.
no, I understand that, but it's a
Yeah.
nice plus.
Because a lot, I mean, the building repairs should be, just like if you look at the school, you know, budget. you've got-
Yeah, the assumption is if it's
Thousands of
a
dollars.
doorknob that needs to be replaced or a light bulb or what have you, that's covered under that 40,000, but any of the specialized projects that we're doing is over and above, that comes out of that building maintenance expendable trust fund.
So do you think that what we can do with facilities and having, you know, a building maintenance person, do you think that that's where we're taking the biggest hit in terms of, you know, as a result of the default and the budget cap, is that where we're suffering the most, is our ability to what we can do with facilities?
I don't think, it's not just facilities, it's your highway, it's kind of everything.
your
It's what
roads.
we're able to hire for PD and fire. I mean, we're still, what, in the bottom 30% is for wages, or 35% in the community for wages for those two departments, and,
Okay.
but it is hard, because, I mean, your committee that you're a part of did a lot of work over the course of 18 months to sort of assess our facilities and all of the repairs that are needed, and we've started in the back of the building and made a lot of progress, but again, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah.
that we need to spend.
Yeah.
no, I understand.
And some of the stuff is sort of mission critical for this year, for next year, that we're gonna have to do.
Thank you, Tim.
Anything else on budget? Okay, warrant articles, if you look at basically it's a tax cap calculation page, but it has, the 2025 potential warrant articles in the big yellow block on the bottom left corner there.
So I do think, and we talked about this at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, is there could be some room in the budget still potentially for like fuel, because fuel costs have dropped compared to what we spent in 2023. Same thing with electricity, some of the, so we potentially could fine tune some of those numbers as long as we feel that costs have levelized a little bit to make some room. But we were under the assumption of kind of leaving it as is, and that's where we came to if we had the operating budget, we'd have about $463,000 to work with for warrant articles. And then we basically looked at the warrant articles from 2024 and just reduced a bunch of them. We deliberated for some time on this to come up with where to sort of push things. And the biggest one obviously is road reconstruction. And that right there is just for the cost and we have the quote for three roads. Deerfield Road, Lucas Pond Road, which is like, a half mile, and Stevens Hill Road. And that total was $284,606.
Did we get a grant for something, I thought?
Well, there's a highway, well, we got the Senate bill
get a block
grant.
grant.
The block grant, but that's just this year.
Was it something, maybe someone was talking about mapping or something, doing the mapping again?
For the culverts?
No, I thought for the town. The other committee, I think, someone told me they got a grant or something recently.
Not for mapping, it's the Housing Opportunity Plan,
But that's
planning
for.
for the master
Oh, for
plan.
planning board. Oh, that's right. Master plan. Is that in this budget in here? Master
No.
plan? Okay.
No, we're doing a public hearing on that this coming Monday.
So then we, essentially knowing that we've got these roads that are, has anybody been down Lucas Pond Road? It's, it's down to, I think, the original road from 10, 15 years ago, for a good portion of it. So that's where we kind of broke up those three priorities. There's more that needs to be done, but that's obviously a large amount of the money from the warrant articles. And then we just kind of reduced everything from there. The Highway Truck Reserve Fund, that's the second highest at 70,000 is our grader, which you've heard 3 times, I think, in our past meetings, is in disrepair. Running forward, not in reverse, beeping. The display works half the time.
Still at the dealer, correct. Parts are on order.
But that's a very expensive piece.
Actually, I think we had to send it out or something.
$650,000.
Yeah. And it's on the CIP, what, 2026?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was,
For 484, I believe.
yeah, it was about 500,000, I think, yeah.
You said the building maintenance reserve has about 90 in it right now?
Correct.
So let's get it to roughly 108. Is the thought just, 18 seems like an oddly specific number.
Yeah, it
What's the
does.
logic?
To bring it up above 100. Well, and then, again, thinking about potentially funding somebody in that position, and then the expenses that we've got, things that we want to do.
Yeah, I'm
It's
just,
gonna be over.
was it basically the last thing that you funded? And so you
Yes,
gave
it
all
was.
the remainder?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out if
We'd
there's
like it to be
logic
close
behind
to
the
150,
18.
but
was very
It's the number it is. I gotcha.
Tim, can you talk a little bit about that reserve fund, or Ellen, I mean, what is, maybe not its purpose, but the intent of its longevity? I mean, if it pays for half of Alan's position and then some of the maintenance, I mean, you could drain it and more in 1 year. How is it meant to function over the long term?
To deal with issues, I mean, if we run into an issue with an HVAC or need electrical or plumbing, or let's even say the library septic fails, to deal with those major catastrophic events that we just can't support in the operating budget, so.
But again, our point was that the things that we know we want to spend money on shouldn't be part of that. It's either we,
choice.
then we reduce that and then just add the items to the operating budget. Either way, we should have more in the operating budget, closer to $60,000 a year for building maintenance.
I mean, if, based on the plan that Alan has developed for us, I mean, he's given us a 1 to 3 and then a 3 to 7 year plan for repairs, so we're looking at 260,000. I mean, realistically, say, okay, if we're gonna focus on the next 3 years, then, you know, we need to make sure that we add probably 100,000 into that capital reserve each year to kind of work off of those projects. But then you can't plan for the inevitable either, so. We had some major failures in the past 2 years that we've had to take care of, and you just hope that, you know, that was it for a while, and now we can start working towards the deferred maintenance and.
And are these invested funds? Like, do they,
They're in a-
They
they're in a
grow?
They are,
CD.
they are.
I think part of it's in a CD right now, maybe?
they gain
They're-
about
they're part of the trust
$5
funds.
a year?
Well, no, the CD rates are 4.6
So
right now,
the trustees of the trust funds are rolling a portion of all the trust funds into short-term CDs. They're like 5-month CDs. They have been yielding over like 5.5%. So they are gaining some interest, but much better than they were
Yes.
5 years ago.
But I think, so our goal on the select board too is to, because there's a separate warrant article for the operating budget, is we didn't want to have the operating budget going up by 6% or 5% and voters to be, because it didn't pass last year. So we didn't want to have a huge increase in the operating budget, so keeping the warrant articles separate for
So-
people to vote upon.
What, I guess then what's the percentage of the current one, do you know? Is it roughly 4?
The dollar amount?
Yeah. Based on what it was, but if you don't know, that's fine, I can calculate it, it's not a biggie. But I was gonna drive at that, where that 463 came from. That number you were working backwards off of, I mean.
It was
'cause-
based upon our current operating budget, and then if you do all that, the math is looking
Yeah.
at the 4% tax cap.
Yeah.
That's how much room we had to work with.
463?
Right. So if you take the operating budget, add those appropriations
Yeah.
minus the revenues.
Yeah, no, I get the calculation, sorry. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think there's an argument to be made that almost all of these could potentially be included in the operating budget.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
Well,
so
no.
that's what,
No, because they're additions to either a capital reserve or an expendable trust fund, so that has to be done by warrant article.
okay, so those ones do, but
Correct.
road reconstruction, invasive species, CBA, police tech don't.
Yes, all of those.
invasive species does.
The only one that wouldn't, would be the road reconstruction. The rest of those are already established capital reserve or expendable trust
Oh,
funds.
invasive species is a capital reserve
Correct, it's an
too?
expendable trust fund.
Oh, okay.
So road reconstruction is really the only one that we
Okay,
could put
so
into
that's
the,
really the only one you could play with, so the rest of them just are what they are. So I guess I was driving at if you could speak a little more to if there was a number, or, that's why I was kinda asking about the 4% of how the Board of Selectmen structured this in terms of what was out, what was in. But I
So
guess if it's
we-
only road reconstruction, that's a simpler answer.
Right. And we didn't want to put, or increase the operating budget by $125,000, knowing that last year was a challenge to get it passed, even though we felt it was a pretty responsible increase.
And it would be a wash either way, right?
It would be, but to
Right.
voters, they see it as separate warrant articles,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Basically the presentation of it.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that we had talked too about that $285,000. Well, we have a direct quote for the 3 roads, exactly what it's gonna cost, that's $285,000. So if voters are wondering what it's gonna be spent on, well, this is what our goal is. I mean, if we have a Mother's Day flood, one of those roads might not happen and we might have to use it for that, but. Or it could be a Father's Day flood. Doesn't have to be Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Just happened to be
With a
twice
baby.
the
Patriots Day?
past, 2
Make it
of the
Patriots
past
Day.
20
That
years,
one
I don't know what's
happened
up.
right after. Even though it's not a thing we celebrate up here. So, any other questions about the specific warrants? Any other questions in general on the budget? What we got in front of us?
I have one comment back to the budget. I know that was kinda closed out, but we're still at $26,500 higher compared to last year.
Is that what it is? The proposal is higher than the proposal from last year, or are you saying the default?
Proposed.
So the proposed last year,
We had a reduction from 34,610 increase at 28%. We're at 26,410. That's still, this one stands out to me, just going through, different departments and stuff. It's still the largest increase in there, and there's rec revolving fund. We should use it.
The 26,410, I'm sorry, I wasn't following. So you're comparing that to the default bottom line?
Yep,
But I-
2024 approved.
Okay, so what I would like to remind everybody is the police cruiser was funded out of ARPA. It was pulled out of that calculation, and we've had to add that back into the operating budget this year, because we don't have the ARPA
You're
to fall
saying
back
rec
on.
only?
I'm just talking rec, that
Okay.
just by itself, bottom line.
Oh, sorry, okay. So the 26, you're saying the 26 was rec only?
$26,410, that's just,
And that's
it
because,
seems like a large increase, that's all.
that's because of moving part of the salary out of the revolving fund into the operating budget.
Yep, but I think if we're talking $500, $1,000 here, $1,000 there, and on other lines, that one just sticks out. It's a large increase, still.
Well, it's not actually an increase, it's the cost of running the department.
I think it could be funded in other ways, but this isn't the first, this isn't the last crack at it, so I just wanted to mention it.
no, it will absolutely be an item of discussion going forward.
Yeah.
I'm quite certain.
It will.
It is the one that seems to be garnering significant amount of attention, relatively speaking. Agreed. But no, you are right, in terms of percentages, that is the highest change
Yeah,
from last year to this year.
yep. I didn't wanna dig back into all of it, it just, that's one that stands out to me.
Yep. We can dig back into it on the next one, but.
Yeah, moving back on to other lines and stuff like that,
Okay, anything else on that?
Why aren't, excuse me, back on that question, why aren't the, a director and assistant director's salaries separated out? They're all in one,
they're all lumped together.
yeah.
They could be separated out. I mean, we don't separate out the different police department
Salaries
positions.
are lumped together in
The
every
school
department, right?
separates it
Okay.
out.
All
Yeah, the
right,
school
all
separates
right.
it out.
I guess there's only two of them, and it just struck me, yeah, okay.
But like executive, to Sandra's point, secretaries pulled out and town admin is separate, even though those are the only two, other than the selectmen in there.
Right,
Would it be beneficial, do you think, to see it? Is that what you're asking?
yes,
I mean, we can certainly break it out further. I mean, we
mind?
can do it with the highway department, because the highway director's in the highway salaries as well, so.
Yeah, the selectmen
the other four.
salaries, that was a big increase, huh, percentage-wise?
Hey, I was up for zeroing it out last year, we did, I'm fine doing it again.
Volunteered, we all
If
volunteer
we'll
on
take-
this too.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different,
If we take that $15,000 and we'll put it to rec, pay for the, salaries.
So if you wouldn't mind, could you just break those two
Yeah,
apart?
we can break them down. Yeah.
What's that?
John get a lot more work done. Yeah. Excellent, on to next item, subcommittee reports.
CIP, we met, Monday.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Yeah, so we had continued discussion about the library. Jen Phillips came in to see us again. There have been discussions about all of the work that needs to be done to get us in line with ADA compliance over there, and whether we're gonna go left side, right side of the building. New information this week that I think is likely to be okay is that Jen did some research into, the challenge is, in the event of emergency, how do you get people out from the second floor, right, or from the bottom
Lower
floor?
floor, yeah.
And, where do you safely direct them? Do you get them out on the left side of the building? Do you channel them out to the right side and up to the parking lot for the old fire station? And then what work has to be done there? So Jen did some research and found out that according to IBC codes, which are tied to ADA, you can get by if you have a exit-assisted plan. And so that means getting people to a specific point where they can then be assisted from there. So the back of the library, where they have the patio and the garden trails back there, we believe that can be part of that exit assistance area. So, Jen had one exchange with Dale, and it sounds like we will be able to do that. There are some things that have to happen, like appropriate signage and training and fire exit plan and stuff like that. But that may get us through for this year, and so some of the money that we were looking at having in CIP this year might not have to come in this year. It may be able to get pushed out. We're still gonna have to address, if you're standing looking at the building on the right side, there's a side exit that is not ADA compliant, so there's still gonna have to be something done with that. There's still a desire to have the driveways paved. So, but I think the impact this year is going to be less. So we talked about that. There's some discussion about whether ARPA funds can be used for some of the work that needs to be done over there. One of the things that we're looking at, carefully, and we've worked with Ellen to try to break stuff out by, is it anticipated as a grant or a bond or a warrant article or operating budget? And so we're trying to look at what's the net new tax impact over the years. And with the exception of this year, what we're initially seeing is that it's fairly level, which I think is what we want. This year, there is kind of an increase, so we're still looking at that. But the goal that we're trying to look at is how do we kind of normalize it? So we don't have these peaks, right, of high expenses. So we're in the process of doing that. We meet again next Thursday before this meeting. I think that's probably gonna be our last, if not maybe one more after that. Our goal was to wrap this all up by mid-December. We're also starting to work on the report for the town report. So I think we've made good progress. A couple of things that we still need to kind of shift around. In fact, Ellen, if you're in on Monday, I want to come in and talk about kind of what we're doing with the spreadsheet.
Okay.
But, yeah, we've made good progress.
Excellent.
Yep.
Nicely done.
I like that idea. We have them at work like flip charts on the exits, you know what I mean, where to go. I do the tabletop fire drills every year.
Exactly.
There's a tornado, where to go, fire, where to go, so we can take roll calls, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yep.
But
That's the
that's
part
a
of the
good idea.
training and then the
Yeah.
plan that they would have to have. I give Jen a ton of credit, right? Because, there's stuff that needs to be done over there, but she keeps digging and digging and digging. And for her, just this week, she went in and she dug into those codes and, really read through it all and tried to understand what was the most cost-effective way for us to handle it. So props to her. She's done a great job.
Code reading is not easy. That's
And it's
impressive.
not, no. And
That's
and
really hard.
she came out with her interpretation of it and then brought it to Dale and said, am I reading this right? So,
It's written vague but specific at the same time.
Oh, it's so,
You-
Well, it points to somebody else.
I-
It says, you
it
should
just
ask this
sounds-
person,
it
that
sounds
person
funny,
should
but
ask
when
that
you're reading
person.
code,
it is.
exactly.
Nobody wants to take ultimate responsibility.
This
given
code
that.
is helpful though, because it actually had drawings as well.
That's
that you could
correct.
kind of apply, so.
Exactly.
It looks promising.
Yep.
Excellent, thank you. Facilities?
I don't have anything.
Nothing? Okay. Other business, if you wouldn't mind, everybody looking at the email Ellen printed out, at my request, it's double checking, the terms. I'm almost positive we confirmed these last year, and this is what was reflected in my notes, which is what that they have at the clerk's office, but if everybody could please look at this again and just make sure that this all looks right, that all of the years and all of the dates, but this year, for the 3 positions that would be up for election, Karen's, who was appointed, and then Sandra and Mike.
Now, is Karen going to be a two-year, or she's a 3-year?
Appointment's always one.
She's just finishing the.
She's finishing
One
John's.
year, so she's a full year 3 position. Okay, I had a question, somebody had a question for me.
So I believe this is correct, but I just want to make sure if everybody remembers anything differently before I respond to Lori and tell her, yes, you are correct. I just wanted to bring it up tonight and verify with everybody.
I won't be running for reelection this time.
Good to know. Thank you, Sandra, for your years on this board. We do appreciate it.
Well, you still got another year.
No, I don't.
No, Sandra's up.
I'm
Expires
on
in
this
March.
list.
Yeah, the highlighted ones are, yeah, it technically expires in January or whatever it is.
I
So at
mean,
the
I'll
election
be
March.
here until we finish out, whenever we finish out.
Yeah, we'll finish out
Obviously,
this
I'm not gonna
budget
go away
cycle.
on New Year's Day.
Had enough fun already, Sandra?
I've had enough fun already, and, I'm really comfortable with our board, and I'm sure it will, you know, this is a good time to move on. I'm
So,
not gonna be like Mike Keister and be here 23 years and say, I believe in term limits.
so nobody has anything that they're seeing is incorrect, right? No notes, no comments? Okay, excellent. I will respond to Lori tomorrow on that. Any other business? Seeing none,
Just one, is there a date that you've discussed for the delivery session?
February 1st, Saturday, February 1st, as of right now.
Saturday, February when?
First,
Do you know about the school?
yes, the school, I did reserve it for that date. Oh, the school,
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry,
school's
the school's
date.
deliberative session, I believe that's always the Tuesday after the town.
Okay. So
I
Feb.
think, but I
1st.
haven't, I don't have the official date. Do you know, Danielle?
Forward.
Okay.
Are we gonna have a tour of the school? Is that mentioned? The
The
budget
town
committee?
deliberative is what date?
February 1st.
And all the HVAC.
And the school is when?
Fourth?
We think it's the 4th, yeah. We need that confirmed.
The 4th?
Just double checking.
The 5th, because
Oh,
it's the same
5th.
as a school board, so we would have an emergency meeting afterwards. if needed. Yeah.
Did we want to schedule a meeting after each of those in case there's some business to discuss, like last year?
I think that was the plan, because we missed it
we did
last
talk
year.
about that.
I thought we said we were gonna plan like right at the end of the session.
Yep,
Yes.
yep. We just have to get it on the schedule and posted and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
So we should probably,
I think
It's
we
not on the
did-
schedule yet. I can't remember what we had or didn't. I didn't bring mine with me, I forgot it.
no, it's fine. No, it's not
No,
on
it's
the
not yet.
So we
schedule.
just have it noted as the deliberative, but, yep,
Yep.
got it.
So we should schedule a
Yep.
possible budget committee meeting after the deliberative
For
on Saturday the
recommendations
1st.
after.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
and then as well on Saturday after the school deliberative.
Yeah, I'll just add the meetings and we can have the meeting and then have nothing to discuss and close the meeting within 5 seconds.
It'd be worthwhile.
But we gotta at least
Just
have
have
it
that
posted
time, yeah.
and have it
In
slotted in.
case somebody wants to change a recommendation.
Yep. Okay, I will add that. Good catch. Any other business? Next meeting, next week, December 19th, where we'll be talking school budget. We get to put Danielle on the hot seat instead of Ellen.
And is it possible to get a tour of the school? We were
Like an
talking
official
about.
budget committee tour?
Well, we talked, am I crazy?
No, I remember talking about it, I just don't remember where it
Everybody's
went.
looking at me like,
It was discussed in
Am I
school
dreaming?
facilities, I don't know whatever came to conclusion as to dates or whether it was gonna happen.
I think it was in context too with like, additional modules outside or additional classrooms outside, but is the school pursuing that this year or?
No.
Yeah, so maybe that's why.
The focus is on getting the building straight.
HVAC. Yeah, it was kind of the HVAC stuff I
Right.
wanted to look
I can
at.
ask,
Buy,
but I
but I
mean-
know about
Yeah.
HVAC. That'd be
let me
great.
ask and find out.
Yeah, or,
They always offer, so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I could just call myself then.
Charlotte loves field
You want
trips.
a field trip though?
I
He
loves
person
field
that
trips.
wants to take a
Good,
tour
good
of the
sleeping.
school, I'll bet you
Excellent.
can call the principal's office and you can get it.
With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Donna. Second by Tim. All those in favor? Aye. 7:55, we are adjourned.
Right.